Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May the Lord protect us both, teacher and taught. May the Lord nourish us both by giving us the results of this knowledge. May the Lord make our study illuminating. May we attain vigor together and maybe not cavil at each other. Om, peace, peace, peace. So in the Katha Upanishad, the Lord of Death, has started answering the little boy Nachiketa's question about the nature of the Atman. What is our real nature? Who are we or what are we? And there he has introduced the famous Chariot Analogy in order to teach us about our real nature, which is very subtle, difficult to grasp. So he starts where we are. And to help us, to make it easy and entertaining, he says, think of yourself as an SUV, you know, what you see yourself as chariot, like a car, a limousine or something. This body is the chariot, and the senses, especially the sense organs. So why the sense organs? You know, one might ask this question. If you're just saying body, mind is a chariot, isn't everything included in the chariot? If you say the body is the chariot, the senses are also there, mind is also there, intellect is also there. Why mention them separately? Because there's a point to this analogy. It's not just to describe the body mind. It is to describe the body mind in such a way that the teacher, Yama, can lead us step by step into subtler and subtler realms of our being and finally point out who we are. So here is the chariot. I mean, by and large, on the whole, it's this body. Then notice something. The horses which pull the chariot, they are the five senses. These are the ones which pull us outwards into the world. And these senses run on roads, like the horses run on roads, on lanes. What are the roads they run on? The five sense objects. You know, eyes see form, ears hear sound, nose smells, tongue tastes, the skin touches, and so on. And then these senses are controlled by the mind. So the mind is the one instrument which is called the inner instrument, antakarana, the inner instrument through which we control the senses. Notice, eyes may be open, but if you're not attentive, you won't notice what's in front of you. The ears are open, sound is coming in. You're not attentive, you won't hear what is coming in. So mind is important. All the senses will take the information from the world, from the sense objects. It will internalize those sense objects. Sight, a form, sound, smell, taste, touch, all will be internalized and dumped in the mind. So the mind is the instrument where the senses all coalesce together and where you can control the senses. You can direct the senses. See this, hear that, don't see that, don't hear this. All of this is done by the mind. It is like the reins holding the senses. Then deeper than that is, the mind is like the reins which can control the horses. And who is holding the reins? It's like the driver driving the limousine has the steering wheel in his hand. So the reins which hold the horses are in the hands of the charioteer. So the charioteer is compared to our intellect, the capacity to understand. It's the same. We might say mind and intellect, aren't they the same thing? Inner instrument, yes. But remember, again, we are dividing and subdividing with a purpose. There's a design to this example, this analogy, which is to take us to subtler and subtler aspects of our being. So body, physical body, then the sensory system, more subtle, far more subtle sensory system. Even more subtle than that, the inner instrument, mind. By the way, why inner instrument? Why are we calling it inner? The senses have these two aspects. The senses contact the external world, and they're also in touch with our internal world, isn't it? The senses can see forms which are out there, and then they're bringing it into us, into our inner awareness. They hear sound from out there, and then bring it into our inner awareness. They smell and taste and touch external world, but they're also inward turned because they bring the world into ourselves. But inside the mind only contacts the senses. The mind cannot directly contact things in the world outside. So the mind is called inner instrument. Senses will dump their information, inner instrument. More subtle than that, yes, buddhi, intellect, is also in a part of the inner instrument, but it is the faculty by which we understand things. Where this Vedanta which we are understanding, that is buddhi. So buddhi is compared to the charioteer who holds the reins of the chariot, who holds the steering wheel. Just like the mind is used, buddhi uses the mind to control the senses. The charioteer uses the reins to control the horses, to direct the horses. Great. That's it? No, that's not it. None of this is the claim of Vedanta, none of this is actually you. All of this is meant for you, but you are distinct from all of this. You are the passenger. You have called an Uber. You are not the Uber, the car. You are not the engine or the instruments. You are not the steering wheel. You are not even the driver. You are not any of it. You are the unconcerned person who sits at the back. The whole machinery and the driver and everything, activities going on, is for your sake, so that you can reach the goal. So you are the sentient being, the Jivatma, who's sitting in the chariot, in this body-mind complex. And this whole activity of life which is going on is for your sake, so that you reach your goal. Where do you want to go? You want to go to your own real self. So how amazing and poetic it is. The journey is from yourself to yourself. One Christian mystic, I think, spiritual journey, he says it is the flight of the alone to the alone. First, alone is small a. We are alone, basically. Our life, basically, we are alone. Although we think we are with a lot of people, we are utterly, utterly alone. We surround ourselves with activities and people and relationships and problems and goals of life. None of them were there earlier. None of them will be there later. And Gaudapada says that which was not there earlier, that which will not be there later, also does not exist now. It's a dream. You are utterly alone. That's very scary. There's nothing, nobody I can contact. But spirituality is the flight of the alone to the alone. The other alone is capital A alone. Capital A alone is Ekaha, the one reality, Brahman, existence, consciousness, place. This flight, this journey is the spiritual journey. But Vedanta says it's an entirely internal journey. From you who does not know yourself to you who will know yourself. From the small self to the capital self. Then what kind of journey? How is it? It can't be going to a place, because I am here, right here. It can't be waiting that the real self will come later. No, real self must be here, because I am here now. I am here in this place. I am here now, and I am myself. So it cannot be a journey from one place to another place. It cannot be a journey from one time to another time. It cannot be a journey from one object, myself, to something else. It can only be a journey from ignorance to knowledge, from not knowing what I am to knowing what I truly am. That is the journey. But it is imagined as a chariot journey, like an Uber ride, or like that. You have to go from one place to another. Then the disciplines were given by Yama. Before he gives the actual core teaching, which we will see now, he gave the disciplines. We have already read that. What are the disciplines? The senses must be trained. They must be brought under control. First, sense control. Just the horses must be trained. Then the second, the mind must be attentive. Attention must be trained. Mindfulness, literally that word is used, samanaska. So the reins must be tight and under control. Otherwise, you cannot control the horses. If the steering wheel is loose, you throw it this way and that way, the vehicle does not respond, then you are in trouble. And the driver cannot do anything. The reins must be tight and fixed to the horses. The mind must be attentive. This is the practice of mindfulness, training of attention. Then third one is the intellect, the charioteer must know, the driver must know where you want to go. So the intellect must have Vedantic knowledge of who am I. See, doesn't the Atman require, I require that knowledge. Why should the intellect have it? No, I am the witness consciousness. Knowledge is the function of intellect. Thinking is the function of attention, and thinking is the function of mind. Perceiving is the function of the five senses. So these are the different functions, and they are all for me. Yes, the knowledge is for me, but the actual work will be done by intellect. So the intellect must be informed with Vedantic knowledge. The mind must be controlled and trained to pay attention, mindful, and the senses must be trained, purification of the senses. We discussed last time the elephant and the mouth and the elephant, how the elephant can be trained only by repetition, nothing else. Basically, this is the same structure of sadhana which we have talked about again and again in Vedanta. You see, the matrix of the threefold sadhana. One is Karma Yoga, gives purity of mind, Chitta Shuddhi. Then Upasana gives concentration of mind, Ekagrata. And then Jnana Yoga gives, through Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasan, the Vedantic knowledge of who am I to the intellect. So these three stages of sadhana. Now, what happens when all the conditions are fulfilled? He says in the mantra number 9, which we have done. Vijnana sarathiryastu manah pragrahavan naraha swadhvanah paramapnoti tad vishno paramam padam. So if your senses are disciplined and under control, if the mind is attentive and the intellect is well informed, charioteer knows where to go, what to do, the reins are tight and in the hands of the charioteer, the horses are well trained, then the passenger will reach the goal, his destination. What is the goal in this case? Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam, the highest abode of Vishnu. Now immediately Shankaracharya comments here. Here Vishnu means Satchidananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. And the highest abode of Vishnu is not going to heaven, is not Vaikuntha, going to some other place, not the dualistic kind of religion, which, when you say highest abode of Vishnu, it sounds like, oh, you have to go to, after death, you will have to go to heaven and stay with Vishnu, like the dualistic, theistic religion. No, Shankaracharya here makes a very pertinent comment, observation, before starting the next mantra. He says that Adhuna yat padam gantavyam. Now, that goal which you are supposed to go to, and going is also in a secondary, in a symbolic sense, you are not actually going anywhere. That goal which you are supposed to go to, that highest abode of Vishnu, what is that? He says pratyagatmataya adhigama kartavya. It has to be realized, that highest abode of Vishnu has to be realized as your inner self. What does that mean? It's you. Vishnu, the highest abode of Vishnu, Satchidananda, the absolute existence, consciousness, bliss, is you. This has to be realized. Adhigama kartavya. The goal now is to realize this. So the teaching starts now. All of this was to set the stage. Now the core teaching, the instruction to the charioteer, the teaching to the intellect, the Vedantic teaching will be given now. So much effort was to make sure that the chariot is in good shape, horses are in good shape, all the equipment is working nicely. Now you have to tell the intellect, tell the buddhi about our real nature. The real Vedantic instruction will now start. The mantra number 10. Indriyebhya parayartha arthebhyascha param mana manasastu para buddhi buddhiratma mahan paraha. Superior to, higher than the senses are the sense objects. I'm translating now. Higher than the sense objects is the mind. Higher than the mind is the intellect. Higher than the intellect is the cosmic mind, or the Hiranyagarbha, Mahat. And higher than the Mahat will come next. I'm reading the next one also. Mahata paramabhyaktam abhyaktat purusha para purushanna parang kinchit sakashtha sa paragati. So higher than Mahat, I'll read Swami Gambhiranji's translation. Higher than Mahat is the unmanifested, abhyakta. The Purusha is higher than the unmanifested. There is nothing higher than the Purusha. That Purusha is the culmination, that is the highest goal. Okay, a lot has been said here. First of all, I want to make a comment about Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad-Gita. He almost verbatim quotes this in the 3rd chapter. See, why I want to make this observation, we always say what Krishna teaches in the Gita is basically the Upanishads. And sometimes he's actually quoting original mantras from the Upanishads. So what Krishna quotes in the 3rd chapter of the Gita, I think it is the 42nd verse, yes. Krishna quotes in 3rd chapter Gita, chapter 3, verse number 42. Indriyani paranyahu indriyebhya param mana manasastu para buddhi yo buddhe paratastu sa. The senses are said to be superior to their objects. Superior to the senses is the mind. Superior to the mind is the intellect. That which is superior to the intellect is the self. It is Atma. Okay. First, we shall see what the Upanishad said. You can see it is slightly changed. Krishna has slightly changed the mantra. We'll first see what the Upanishad said and why it is a little difficult. And we'll see how Sri Krishna has simplified it in the Bhagavad-Gita. But the same thing, same teaching. What did the Upanishad say? The senses, higher, superior to the senses, subtler than the senses. So higher means more pervasive, more inward, and more subtle than the senses are the sense objects. Here itself, we run into a problem. How can the objects be more inward than the senses? How can the objects which are gross and outside be superior to the senses? Always in philosophy, you'll see the subtler is more powerful than the gross. A physical body, more powerful than that nervous system, more powerful than that mind, more powerful than that intellect, subtler and subtler, but that the powerful one is controlling the other one. How are the sense objects in any way superior to the senses? What I taste or see, these objects, how is it superior to the eyes or the tongue or the ears? So what is meant here is actually the sense objects are the subtle things which are grasped by the senses. By sense object, it does not mean, so I'm looking at the pen here, it does not mean that the pen is superior to the eyes, not that way. What it means is when the eyes look at the pen, they grasp the form, and that form is internalized. That's what the senses generate. So in that sense, the sense objects, the forms, the sounds, the smells, the tastes, touch, grasped by the senses, already internalized. That one is superior to the senses themselves, because those are the ones which will guide the senses, which the senses are trying to grasp, and they will pull us. I want to see that form. I want to hear, not the particular object itself, which is outside. It is the subtle form of that object which is already grasped by the senses and internalized. More deeper meaning of this. Why? When you'll see now why Vedanta Sara is very useful. How are sense objects superior to the senses? What is meant by the sense objects are the tanmatras. The form, sound, smell, touch, which we grasp, which we experience, they are not the physical earth, water, fire, air, space. Rather, you remember in Vedanta Sar we studied Panchikaranam. Panchikaranam means from the Atma emerged sky and fire, air and fire and water and earth. But we were told those are the subtle forms of the 5 elements. Then those subtle forms were mixed together to make the gross forms of the 5 elements. Out of the gross forms of the 5 elements, entire universe, physical universe is formed, which we see now. In Sanskrit, when the 5 Panchabhuta, 5 elements first emerged, they were in a subtle form. So the space, fire, air, which I talked about, are not the physical space, fire, air, which we see right now, we experience right now. They are a subtle form, and out of those subtle forms, they are mixed together to make the 5 gross elements. Now remember, in Vedanta Sar, it was said, out of those subtle tanmatras, the tanmatra means the subtle elements. What are the subtle elements? Subtle space, subtle fire, subtle air, subtle water, subtle earth. They're not anything at all like the physical things which we experience. Out of them, what were produced? The antakarana was produced out of that. Mind, intellect, memory, the 5 senses were produced out of that. Senses means the 5 sense powers. And then the objects which the senses will sense, they were produced out of the gross 5 elements. So pancha sukshma bhuta, pancha sthula bhuta. The pancha sukshma bhuta are mixed up to form the senses and the mind and intellect and all that. So these subtle elements, they are superior to the senses. Why? It is out of these subtle elements that the senses are made. Now when Upanishad says indriyabhya parahyartha, higher than the senses are the Adhyayas are the sense elements, the tanmatras. So tanmatras are definitely superior to the senses because the sense powers are built out of those tanmatras. And superior to the sense powers, the tanmatras, are the mind, in which they are, in which all the perceptions are finally dumped by the senses. The mind is superior to the sense objects, the tanmatras. And higher than the mind, because the mind itself is objectified and grasped, is the intellect, the buddhi. Mind is manomaya kosha, buddhi is vijnanamaya kosha. That is the terminology which comes out of Taittiriya Upanishad. Senses, especially the karmendriyas, motor organs, are part of the pranamaya kosha. And the jnanendriyas are part of the manomaya and vijnanamaya kosha. So the vijnanamaya kosha is superior to the manomaya kosha. Superior in the sense of 3 things. It is mahattara, vaster, more pervasive. Antara, more inwards. And sukshmatara, more subtle. And one can control the other. The mind can control the senses, and the intellect can control the mind. So the mind, the intellect is superior to the mind. Buddhi is superior to the manas. Now one more complication is there. It says that superior to the buddhi is the cosmic mind, Hiranyagarbha. It calls it Mahat, which is sort of Sankhyan terminology. Suddenly we have gone from the individual, so far individual body, senses, mind, intellect, and suddenly to the vast. It says that your intellect, Vijnanamaya Kosha, is a tiny, tiny part of a vast ocean of mind. Mind, intellect, all of that, a vast ocean called the cosmic mind, Hiranyagarbha, of which a tiny part is your mind. And this cosmic mind is endowed with the 3 powers, Jnana, Ichcha, Kriya Shakti. Jnana Shakti, the ability to know, knowledge. Ichcha Shakti, the ability to will. And Kriya, the ability to act. All these powers emerge, not in Satchidananda, in pure consciousness. They emerge at the level of mind, cosmic mind. And we have a tiny bit of that power also. So, know that so higher than, superior to, vaster than, subtler than your individual intellect is the cosmic mind, Hiranyagarbha. Then next, higher than, superior than, subtler than, more internal to, cosmic mind is Maya, Abhyakta. And higher than, subtler than, superior to, the Maya is consciousness, Purusha. Okay, this seems to be an unending train. What's next? What is higher than, superior to, subtler than? Nothing. consciousness is the highest reality, the final reality, and your goal. Which goal? Ultimate goal. Why ultimate goal? Because there is no return from that goal. Na nivattanti, adgatva na nivattanti, attaining which there is no return to this world anymore. So that's your final goal. Now, so what do we have here? The Upanishad is giving us the Vedantic teaching. Yama is giving us the core Vedantic idea to be applied. We'll see how to apply it. But first of all, start with the senses. The senses are there. Superior to them are the subtle elements out of which the senses are made. Superior to that is the mind. Superior, higher, inward to that is the intellect. Superior, higher, more inward to that is the cosmic mind, Hiranyagarbha. Superior, higher, more inward than that is Maya, Abhyakta, the unmanifest. It's called unmanifest because everything is unmanifest at that level. At the level of mind, things become manifest. Superior, higher, finally, is consciousness itself. Okay, this is the teaching. Now notice what Krishna has done with the teaching, just as a an aside. In the 3rd chapter, 42nd verse, Krishna has completely, has remarkably simplified the teaching, made it very clear and elegant. He says, Krishna says, 42nd verse, Indriyani paranyahu indriyebhya param manaha. Senses are superior to their objects. What did the Upanishad say? Objects are superior to the senses. Then we had to give a very technical meaning to the word object, because clearly this object is not superior to the senses. We had to give a meaning that the subtle tanmatras, sukshma tanmatras are superior to the senses which are constituted out of the sukshma tanmatras. That meaning we had to give. But here Sri Krishna says, your senses, first is the object. Higher than that, subtler than that, more inward than that is your sense power, which can experience the object. Then, indriyabhya param mana, superior to all the 5 senses, is the mind, who directs attention to the senses, controls the senses, and which all the information from the senses is dumped. That is the mind. It is higher, superior, inwards, subtler. Manasastu para buddhi, higher than, superior than, more inwards to subtler than. Mind is intellect, the power of understanding. And then higher than that, yo buddhe paratastu saha. That which is higher than the intellect is consciousness, is the Atman, you, the witness consciousness. Finished. See, at each stage we can track it with our own experience. Start with object, go to the senses, from there go to the mind, pay attention to the mind, from the mind to the understanding intellect, beyond that, the witness consciousness. Notice he has left out few interesting things. For the sake of clarity and simplicity. He did not introduce that complication of the subtle tanmatras are superior to the senses. That is an additional complication. He dropped that. Then the intellect, beyond, from that you go to the cosmic mind, Hiranyagarbha. He dropped that. Beyond that you go to the blankness, the Maya. He dropped that. That which is experiencing your thoughts, activities of your thoughts, and yes, the absence of your thoughts in deep sleep, for example. All of that is experienced by you, the consciousness. That consciousness you are, that is Purusha. So this is what Sri Krishna has done. Same teaching, but a little more simplified, more elegant and direct. But it comes at a cost. You know what the cost is? The cost is you have lost something in this process. I'll give you the most serious problem. Here, the Upanishad opened up to the cosmic mind. You see your own intellect, your understanding, sense of understanding, which we are using to understand Vedanta. That's just a part of all the intellects, all the minds of the universe. And then from there you go to what is beyond the mind. What happens to us in deep sleep? Blankness. From there, the cosmic mind. What is behind the cosmic mind? Maya, the power of Maya, Abhyakta, the unmanifest. Beyond that is the consciousness which is experiencing it. Which consciousness? You. Now, the advantage of this is already you are operating at a cosmic level. One big problem you've avoided. If you do it the way Sri Krishna is showing you, then you will end up by feeling, okay, here are the objects, here is the senses, here is the mind, here is the intellect. Beyond that, I am the witness consciousness. Good. But now two problems will remain. One is, how many witness consciousnesses are there? So there's so many bodies, so many minds, so many intellects. So are there many, many consciousnesses? And what about God? What about this power behind the entire universe? Those problems will remain. What Sri Krishna has shown is it takes you to the Sankhyan level of understanding. Whereas the Upanishad, by going to, from using the Vijnanamaya Kosha as a door to the cosmic mind, it already has brought in the cosmos, the oneness. When you realize consciousness is the witness of Maya, already you are one with Ishvara there. The unity, that is one consciousness, which is behind all minds, not just one mind. That question will not arise anymore. Oneness is the message. So Sri Krishna will have to work later. In 13th chapter, he will have to say, Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. I am the one consciousness, one Purusha behind all minds. This is the extra work he has to do later on, which the Upanishad accomplishes at one stroke. All right. Now let's see some unique nature of all of this. So what is the teaching here? Notice at each step, I am not it. I am not the objects of the senses, very clear. I am not the senses themselves. From the perspective of the mind, when you say from the perspective of the mind, so you just start with the object themselves. Here is an object. I'm showing you the essence of the teaching. Here is an object, and here are the eyes seeing the object. Now ask yourself, where am I? Am I there, the object, or am I here seeing it? Common sense. What does it feel like? It feels like I am here seeing it. The self is the senses, and the object is not self, anatma. What is anatma, not self? That which is appearing to the self. What is this pen? It's something that is appearing to the eyes. What is an appearance? Name and form. Appearance is the name, form, and function. Nama, rupa, vyavahara. It's a name, pen. It's a particular form, and it has a particular function. That's it. Name, form, and function by themselves, they are what is called mithya, appearance. Name, form, and function is the very definition of mithya. So if this is an appearance, it cannot be anything other than the sensory system itself. A very subtle point is being made here. You might say, no, there is a pen outside. By the time you are seeing the pen, it is nothing more than a sensory input. True or not? After all, what is involved in seeing the pen? Even modern physiology will tell you. The light is reflected of the pen, then it goes into your eyes and an image is formed, and optic nerves will carry electrical impulses to the brain center, and somehow there you get a visual perception of a pen. By the time it comes to your eyes, there's no pen, only light. Correct? Of course, if the pen actually came to your eyes, you'd be blind. If the pen entered my eyes, it would be blind. Only light enters the eyes. The eyes can only take light. Suppose there is a huge car crash and you hear a thunderous sound, or like a drill working in the street outside, you hear a hammering sound. What enters the ears? Not the jackhammer, not the drill. You die if that happened. Only sound waves. It enters the eyes, the light, and after that it's no longer light. An image is formed on the retina, and then it's no longer an image, only tiny bursts of electricity in our neurons racing to the brain center. By the time it goes there, just tiny neuronal activity, and finally it is nothing more than a perception of a pen. That perception of the pen is nothing other than the sensory activity itself. Even modern physiology will agree with that the object you are directly perceiving right now, Doesn't matter whether it's outside or not. Object that you're directly perceiving right now is nothing other than the activity of your senses. This is called pravilapanam, merging. You merge the object back into the senses. Now consider the senses. Higher than the senses is the mind. From the mental aspect, from mind, if you consider, pay attention to the eyes or the ears or the nose, you will find they are objects. They are instruments. They are not you. When I use the pen, pen is an object and an instrument for me. It's not me. I am not the pen. When you are experiencing the eyes, opening eyes, closing eyes from the mind perspective, where are you? Are you the mind, or are you the blinking eyes? You will feel I am the mind, aware of the blinking eyes. Correct? So the eyes are not me, not self. Mind is the self. Eyes are not self. Anatma. What is anatma? Appearance to the self. Not self means it's an appearance to the self. What is an appearance? Name, form, and function. What is the form? This is the eyes. What is the name? Eyes. What is the function? This is opening, closing, all these things. It is seeing, focusing. These are the functions. And they are nothing but name, form, and function means mithya, appearance. No, not an independent existence. By the time the senses are being, follow this carefully, by the time the senses are being experienced by the mind, in the mind, they are nothing other than chitta vrittis, mental modifications. You have a mental activity, cognition of the form of visual perception. You have the mental activity or cognition of the form of auditory perception. In the mind, there is no eyes or ears or nose or tongue. It is cognition. In the mind, it's cognition only. True or not? Once something comes into the mind, it is mind only. It's not that in the mind there is a mind and one more eyes is there. The information which was visual information in the brain centers has now become a thought in the mind, a chitta vritti. What is in the mind must be mind only. So this is the merging of sensory perception back into mind. What did we do earlier? We merged objects into sensory perception. Sensory perception, now we are merging back into mind, thinking. This is called pravilapanam, merging. Now all these thoughts, feelings, emotions, memories, they are all being understood, cognized, or they are objects to the intellect, which is basically higher function of the mind. For our purposes, we are just dividing. It's subtler. You're able to understand all this. Mind becomes not self, because mind becomes an object. Intellect becomes the self. I am the intellect understanding these objects. I'm understanding my own mind. I'm understanding. Don't we say that's what you do in a psychologist, a counselor's office? Counselor will tell us, let us now try to understand our emotions, our thought processes. What is trying to understand thought processes? Intellect. There's a whole, the most popular form of therapy now is cognitive behavior therapy. What is cognitive CBT? What is cognitive behavior therapy? You don't call patient anymore. You take the client and ask the client's own intellect to understand the problems and solutions of the client's own thoughts and behavior, language and behavior. This is what you are doing. This is what you are saying. This is how you are feeling and thinking. Now logically analyze this. Who will do that logical analysis? The intellect of the client, the faculty of understanding. That means intellect is making the mind into an object. Then where are you? Are you the mind or are you the intellect? I am the intellect. The mind becomes anatma, not self. Anatma is an appearance to the self. The mind is appearing to the intellect. And this appearance is nothing but name, form, and function. Nama, Rupa, Vyavahar. Name, form, and function is another name for Maya or Mithya. It's a Mithya, it's a false appearance, it's an appearance. It's not a reality apart from the intellect. It's nothing other than intellect or understanding. Now the intellect itself, I'm now not going into the subtle and difficult moves that the Upanishad is making, cosmic mind and then Maya and all. So the intellect itself is is observed, is illumined, lit up by consciousness, which is the Purusha. Purusha is called consciousness. I, the consciousness, I light up my own intellect. I'm aware of my intellect. Then who am I? Am I the intellect or am I consciousness? What is the self? The intellect becomes an object. If I understand something, I'm aware of understanding. If I don't understand something, I'm aware of not understanding. I'm aware of the functioning of the intellect. The intellect is an object. Where am I? Am I on the side of the intellect or on the side of consciousness? I am consciousness, and I'm aware of the intellect. So intellect is not self. Not self means an appearance. Intellect is an appearance to consciousness or in consciousness. Appearance means name, form, and function. Nama, rupa, vyavahara, which is another way of saying false. It's not an independent, separate reality. It is nothing other than consciousness, which is appearing in the form of intellect. I am consciousness, and everything that appears to me it's an appearance. It's mithya, it's false. What appears to me? Intellect. And through the intellect, the mind. Through the mind, the five sense organs, sense inputs. Through the five sense inputs, the entire world. All of this is nothing other than name, form, and functions, nothing other than mithya, nothing other than appearances in me. Who am I? I am the self, Purusha, consciousness, awareness. So, also note that the Avyakta, the unmanifest, which we did not discuss, it corresponds to the Anandamaya Kosha. So if you want to classify, the Indriyas will correspond roughly to Pranamaya and Manomaya Kosha. The mind corresponds to the Manomaya Kosha. The intellect corresponds to Vijnanamaya Kosha. And the Avyakta, the unmanifest, corresponds to Anandamaya Kosha. Beyond that is consciousness, which is you. Now, he says, the Purusha Para, the transcendent consciousness, supreme consciousness is beyond Maya, beyond the Anandamaya Kosha. Purushanna param kinchit. No, there could be something beyond that, anything higher? He says, no. Shankaracharya, he comments here. Sarva karana karanatvat. It is the cause of all causes, which is pure consciousness. Pratyagatmatvatcha. It is the innermost self. Why can't there be anything inner to pure consciousness? Because if there is anything inner, then that would become the self, and then consciousness would become an object. But consciousness can never be an object. Consciousness is that to which everything is an object. Isn't that the definition of consciousness? Anidam. You cannot classify consciousness as this. Every object can be classified as this. Consciousness itself can never become an object. If you say there is something more inner to consciousness, the self is inner to consciousness, more subtle than consciousness, then consciousness will become not self. It will become an object. But consciousness cannot be an object. Physical objects are objects. Sensory activities are objects. Mind, thoughts are objects. Intellectual understanding is object. Even blankness is an object, deep sleep. But all of these are objects to you, the consciousness. Consciousness itself cannot be an object. So it is the innermost. There is nothing inner than that. Tato anyasya parasya prasangam nivarayannaha purushanna param kinchit. It says, Shankaracharya says, in order to negate the possibility that someone might say there might be something higher than consciousness, he says, no. That's why the Upanishad says there is nothing higher, subtler, more inward than consciousness. And because it is the highest, Shankaracharya himself says, Tasmad sukshmatva mahatva pratyagatmatvanam sakashtha nishtha paryavasanam. Because there is nothing subtler than consciousness, nothing vaster, more pervasive than consciousness, nothing more inward than consciousness. Therefore, it is Kashta. Kashta means the final, the ultimate, beyond which there can be nothing more. Then he says, when the Upanishad says, Sa Paragati, that's your ultimate destination. Destination of whom? The chariot. Where is the chariot going? To consciousness, the highest consciousness. It's an inward journey. Shankaracharya beautifully says here, Ataeva cha gantrinam sarva gati matam samsarinam para prakrishta gati. So for all those who travel, what a nice way of putting it, for all those who travel, where are they traveling? Samsara, lifetime to lifetime. Here is the final resting place. Where is the final resting place for me? You are your own final resting place, your own higher self. And he quotes from Gita here. In the Upanishad commentary, he quotes, Yad gatvana nibattante taddhama paramam mama. So in the Bhagavad-Gita, it is said, 15th, chapter 15, Yad gatvana nibattante. The 6th verse, I think. Yeah. Yad gatvana nivattante taddhama paramam, attaining which one does not return anymore. Now, a question may be asked. If you go to some place, you can always come back. Now, this seems to be a silly question, but it's a common question. Is realization, enlightenment final? After all, if you're saying from ignorance we went to knowledge, you can come back to ignorance again. We are thinking about it in terms of worldly knowledge and ignorance. You learn something, you can forget it. We forget so many things. So isn't it possible you become enlightened? I understand, you realize you're Brahman, but maybe you forget it. Maybe you fall back into ignorance again. So he says, the question he raises is, Nanu gatisched agatyapi bhavitavyam. So if there is attainment, if there is a journey, you can say return also. It's possible you can come back from it. Why are you saying you don't come back from it? Why are you saying it's final? Why not impermanent? You could realize something and forget it again. Shankaracharya says, no, this fault does not arise. Naisha doshaha. So a very important point he makes. Sarvasya pratyagatmatvad avagatireva gatiriti upacharyate. Simple and very important point. Here, journey, goal, all of this is a symbolic way of speaking. What is meant here? Understanding, realization is meant here. Why? Because sarvasya pratyagatmatva, this consciousness is the innermost self of everybody. That means it is always there. It is you right now, it must be there. It is there all the time, everywhere, and it is you yourself. So it cannot be a journey in space. It cannot be a journey in time. It cannot be a journey from you to something else. So in the Christian mystics language, the flight of the alone to the alone, small a to the capital A, which is also the small a and the capital A are the same. In the Mundaka Upanishad version, the two birds, the lower bird is hopping up and up to the higher bird, but then finally what happens? It's lost in the radiance of the higher bird and realizes there was no lower bird at all. So Shankaracharya says this, you cannot fall from it because you're never fallen. This is the interesting thing you realize. And he says, Pratyagatmatvam cha darshitam indriya mano buddhi paratvena. It is the innermost self because notice the language of the Upanishad. It talks about senses and then the mind, then the intellect, and inward said to be the innermost self. That means it is you yourself. It's not talking about some God out there, some heaven out there, some goal out there. We're talking about you. So it is not a journey. And then he gives a very beautiful quote from a very obscure source. I'll first give you the quote. The quote is so beautiful. Tathaja Shruti, and thus say the Upanishads, Anadhvaga advasu parishnavaha. Those who want to go beyond samsara, They do not walk on roads. Anadvaga. Their path is as a pathless path. It's literally the language used by Jiddu Krishnamurti. He said, truth is a pathless path. So this is not a traveling on any path. Anadvaga advasu paraishnavaha. The ones who want to go beyond all paths, the ones who want to go beyond all traveling, they do not travel by road. They do not travel by paths. So that means it's not a journey from one place to another, from one state to another state, from one time to another time. No. It's a realization, basically. Then the next mantra is also beautiful. Let me just read it and we'll conclude. So this is the teaching. 12th. And how to do it, he will give a technique later. Esha sarveshu bhuteshu gudhotmana prakashate drishyate tvagraya buddhya sukshmaya sukshmadarshibhi. Let me see Gambhiranji's translation. He is hidden in all beings, and hence he does not appear as the self of all, but by the seers of subtle things, he is seen through a pointed and fine intellect. Okay. So what was said here? Where is this Atman, this Purusha? Sarveshu bhuteshu Atma. It's in all beings. But, so it should be clear. What is should be more clear than I am, me, myself? So no, it's not clear. Gudha, it is hidden. Hidden where? In everybody. It's called the open secret. It's openly there, but hidden. Na prakashate. It's not clear. It's not revealed. It's not known by, though it is their innermost being, it is not known by these beings. Shankaracharya comments here. Very heartfelt comment. I'll read out to you. The very soaring and sorrowful language. Aho ati gambhira duravagahya vichitra maya cheyam. Alas, how profound and deep and unfathomable and strange is Maya. Why? Yadayam sarvo jantuhu paramarthataha paramarthas satatva api paramartha satatva api evam bodhyamano aham paramatma iti na grinhyat na grinhati. So all these beings, if they are given the highest teaching, like we just did, that you are Brahman, aham paramatma iti na grinhyat, they don't grasp, I am Satchidananda, I am immortal being, I am pure consciousness, I am ever fulfilled, everything is perfect and all right. They don't grasp it. Then Atmanam deha indriyadi sanghatam atmano drishyamanam api ghatadivat atmatvena aham amushya putra iti anuchyamano api grinhati. On the contrary, though body, senses, mind and intellect are things, he says drishyamano api ghatadivat, like a clay pot. Just as you would not concern yourself with this little object, it's a thing. This body is a thing. The sensory system is a thing. Our minds, thoughts are so precious. Memories, ideas, they're things. Our intellect is a thing. Even our understanding is a thing. It's an object. It is not you. They're just objects like all other objects. You are always free of it, completely free of it. And yet, we take it as, I am this body, I am this mind, I am this intellect. He says, aham amushya putra. Nobody has told you you are body, mind, intellect, and the son of so-and-so, and the husband, wife of so-and-so, and this. No, you are infinite awareness, existence, consciousness, bliss. Even without being told this, that you are the son of so and so, you are this body, you are this mind, you take it. Naturally, they take it to be so, that I am a body, I am the mind, this is my father, mother. Father, mother is of the body. Misery, glory, insult of the mind, not you at all. One sadhu in Uttarakhand put it nicely. Mahatma ji, jo jahan hai usko wahan rehne do. Don't displace anything, oh monk. Whatever belongs to where, don't put things where they belong. Illness, tiredness, sickness, body. Unhappiness, depression, lack of fulfillment, anger, mind. Illness is not of you, the consciousness. Old age is not of you, the consciousness. It's there. It belongs to the body. Put it in the body. Don't misplace it. What is misplacing it? Old, tired, sick. Body. They say, no, I am old, I am tired, I am sick. No. You are aware of the body being tired, old, and sick. Put it back where it belongs to. Belongs to the body, give it back to the body. Not mine. How can consciousness be old? Then mind, misery, frustration, anger. I am angry. I am sad. I have sorrow. I have depression. No, they belong to the mind. You're misplacing it. Put it back where it belongs. Without being told, also, Shankaracharya says, they accepted naturally, I am body, mind, and all the relations of the world. Even after being taught, you are Satchidananda, Brahman, you don't understand. Why? Aho ati gambhira duravagahya vichitra maya chayam. Because it is so profound, unfathomable. Alas, so powerful is Maya. But can it not be seen? Of course it can be seen. Drishyate tvagraya buddhya sukshmaya sukshmadarshibi. It can be seen. By what? By the mind, by the intellect. Buddhya. By intellect you can see. By the mind you can see. Immediately objection. Somebody raises the objection. Just a minute. So many places it has been said that it is beyond the mind, cannot be seen by the mind. Kena Upanishad says, Yan manasana manute yenahur manomatam tadeva brahmatvam viddhi nedam yadidam upasate. That which the mind cannot understand, by which the mind is illumined, know that to be Brahman, not some object. What you think is that this is Brahman, which you worship as an object, not that. That which is the witness of the mind, that is Brahman. Kena Upanishad said. Now you are saying that it can be known by the mind. Upanishad says it cannot be known by the mind. Now here you are saying it can be known by the mind. How can you reconcile these two? Manasai vanudrashtabhyam. In another place, Upanishad says by the mind alone it can be known. And in another place, Upanishad says that avang manasogocharam. It cannot be known by the mind and speech. How is it that it can sometimes it is said it cannot be known by the mind? How is it that sometimes it is said it can be known by the mind only? How will you reconcile? You can reconcile at whichever level you want to understand. Simplest way of reconciling is by the prepared mind, by the cultivated and trained mind, it can be known. By the unprepared, impure, untrained mind, it cannot be known. That is mentioned here, agraya buddhaya. Adhyaya buddhya means by the sharpened mind. Agraya means sharpened, which has been whittled and sharpened and pointed by karma yoga, upasana, by that sharpening of the mind. It says, Shankaracharya says, Sanskritaya, purified mind, cultivated, cultured mind. Sri Ramakrishna says, Shuddhamo nirgochor, by the pure mind, Atman can be realized. It cannot be realized by the impure mind, it can be realized by the pure mind. It cannot be realized by the distracted mind, it can be realized by the focused mind, concentrated mind. So focused, concentrated, pure mind can realize. That's one way of reconciling. Deeper way, that what the mind can do and what it cannot do. The mind cannot actually realize Brahman, because Brahman is that which objectifies the mind. Mind cannot objectify consciousness. So mind cannot actually realize consciousness. Then what can the mind do? The mind can remove the ignorance about our real nature. The ignorance about our real nature is where? In the mind. Knowledge about our real nature will arise where? In the mind. And that knowledge will not reveal Brahman to you. The technical point here, that knowledge will remove the ignorance about Brahman. Brahman is ever shining forth. So suppose I don't know this person, I'm looking around. I heard that one person called, Vinod has come. Then you introduce me. Swami, this is Vinod. Now, what happened? This knowledge, did it enable me to see Vinod? No, I was already seeing Vinod. The knowledge you gave me removed the ignorance from my mind about what I was seeing. What was being seen continues to be seen. Now I know, oh, this person who I was already seeing is Vinod. When it comes with the knowledge, understanding of Brahman comes, I am Brahman, I realize, oh, this which I was already experiencing. That knowledge did not give me a new experience of Brahman. It removed the ignorance about what was always continuously available. I didn't see it at all. Now I see it. That knowledge did not enable me to see Brahman. It removed the ignorance. Brahman enabled me to see Brahman. So that is the second level of understanding of what mind can do and what mind cannot do. Why is it sometimes said mind can see Brahman? Why is it sometimes said that mind cannot see Brahman? Because of this. Mind cannot see Brahman, correct, because the mind cannot illumine Brahman. Mind can see Brahman, correct, because the mind can remove the ignorance about Brahman, which is preventing me from realizing Brahman. Even deeper analysis, those who have done Vedanta Sar, again you'll see why Vedanta Sar is useful. There was a section at the end of Vedanta Sar. A question was raised that the Upanishads say by the mind alone it can be realized, and the Upanishads say it is beyond the mind. How do you reconcile these two? Do you remember the terms? Vritti Vyapti, Phala Vyapti? Correct. Some of you are nodding and smiling. Yes, you remember. Those who don't remember, you have to go back and look at the text and the lectures there. Very technical, the epistemology of enlightenment. What happens during enlightenment? Minute tracking of that as far as possible. It is shown what the mind can do. What can it do? Vritti Vyapti. What the mind cannot do for Brahman, Phala Vyapti. For everything else, Vritti Vyapti and Phala Vyapti are necessary for knowing anything in the world. But for realizing Brahman, Vritti Vyapti is necessary. Phala Vyapti is not possible for Brahman nor necessary. Brahman is Swaprakasha, self-effulgent. What does this mean? Vritti Vyapti, Phala Vyapti, Swaprakasha? Not the time today. You have to. It's already there in the Vedanta Sar classes. Then it says, not only sharpened mind, sukshmaya, subtle mind. What is subtle mind? Shankaracharya says, sukshma vastu nirupana paraya, that which can ascertain the subtlest reality. Why subtlest reality? Notice every reality which we have talked about, world, senses, mind, intellect, even the unmanifest Maya, they are all objects. But that final turn from the object to the subject, that requires a very subtle kind of mind. And that subtlety doesn't have anything to do with intellect. Many people may be very intelligent, high IQ, still don't get it. Some may have average IQ, but very purified mind. Swami Bhuteshanji used to say, Shukha buddhi na shuddha buddhi. It's by subtle intellect, what is meant here is a purified intellect. As the desires are purged from the mind becomes calm, quiet, mature, and that mind can grasp quickly. Even some of the most intelligent philosophers, today I was talking with some NYU students about Descartes, who went to the furthest that one can go by inquiry. Everything is false, may not be true, body also. But what cannot be doubted is that I am aware. I'm aware of my own thoughts. Therefore, I am there. Cogito ergo sum. Because my thoughts are there, therefore that proves that I am there. But further than that, he did not go. What is that I who is always there? He says, but we can't know anything about it. He says, how strange. This is the exact quote from Descartes' Meditations. How strange it is that which I am most certain of, I do not know anything about it. And that which I know so much about, I am not at all certain of it. What is it that I know so much about? World. But I can't be certain. Is it real? How do I know? It can be doubted. What cannot be doubted? Awareness, consciousness, I. But I don't know anything about it. Why not? What is the problem? He didn't investigate further. Then he did other things. You cannot know anything about it because you think our knowledge is objective. You're trying to objectify it. You can't. He's right. He got it correct. It cannot be objectified. Therefore, he thought, I can't know anything about it. Because our idea is to objectify. Objectify means see with the senses, see or hear, or think with the mind, or understand with the intellect, or express with the words. This is objectification. That cannot be done to consciousness. Consciousness is behind all objectification. It makes objectification possible. Hume, another extraordinary philosopher, David Hume, the Scottish philosopher, he's sitting and thinking, what is this self people talk about? When I observe myself most keenly, I find sense perceptions, thoughts, memories, emotions, ideas, but no self. Say, Mr. Hume, you are looking in the wrong direction. What about the one who is looking? One to whom these sense perceptions, ideas, memories, thoughts are coming and going. The one who is aware of this procession of ideas, thoughts, and feelings. That one. But that one is not an object. Notice how just by common sense and inquiry, he's using almost the same language which Yama used. Yama is using things like Indriya, Mana, Buddhi. What did Hume say? Sense perception, thoughts, ideas. Indriya, Mana, Buddhi. But then you stop. That sukshmaya, that subtle turn is necessary to reveal to you that I am the witness of all of this. Now, at this point, we have sort of got what it is being pointed towards, because we are all veteran Vedanta students. We know what Yama was going to teach. Now, next will be an interesting mantra where he will give a technique of how to, if you have got the theory right, now how to make it a living realization. Shankaracharya also says, Pratipatti Upayam, the way to enlighten realization. Of what has been taught till now. It should become a living reality. I'm not the body mind. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham. How to come to that? That is next time. Let me look at the comments. Rick says, is Purusha discussed here synonymous with Brahman? Yes, exactly. It's Brahman. Rama says, in the charioteer example, passenger Jivatma is the ego with the reflected consciousness. Is my understanding right? No, it is you who is actually Brahman. Right now, under conditions of ignorance, you are the sentient being. Ego is part of the, let's say, the charioteer. It's part of the Vijnanamaya Kosha, and reflected consciousness is on your side. Yes. And you are really none other than Brahman. So that is the Jivatma. It's a provisional entity, which we find ourselves as. Where does this Jivatma fit when we go from sense organs to the pure consciousness? Yes, that's what we were doing. That was the journey. Do you remember what I did? Here is the object. Here is the eyes. On which side am I? The self. The self is the Jivatma. Which is the Jivatma? Is it this pen or is it here? I am here. See how it feels? Check your own experience. It's simple. I am here. I am looking at that thing. Now blink your eyes. The senses, like the eyes, you open your eyes, close your eyes, the physical eyes. And with the mind, you pay attention to it. Doesn't the eyes also feel like an object? And you feel, I am the mind. Where is the Jivatma now? Mind. Where was the Jivatma earlier? Senses. Now mind. Now consider the mind, thoughts, feelings. Who is understanding all this? Vijnanamaya Kosha or the Buddhi. Where is the Jivatma now? Buddhi. What is the mind? It is not self, not Jivatma. Anatma, Nama Rupa Vyavahara, Mithya. This is called Pravilapanam, merging it back. And then the Buddhi itself is revealed to you, the consciousness. Where is Jivatma now? Pure consciousness. So the Jivatma, which is identified with the whole chariot and all, now is taken step by step back into its real nature as consciousness only. Alpana says, is Purusha in 13.21 as Bhokta referred to Jivatma or the Purusha we are speaking about? Purusha in 13.21, let me just see. Purusha prakriti sthoye bhungte prakriti jan gunan karanam gunasangosya sadas asad yoni janmasu. Yeah, is Purusha in 13.21 Bhokta referred to Jivatma or Purusha? Yes. So the Purusha alone is the Jivatma. What is said there? The Purusha remaining in the midst of the products of Prakriti. What are the products of Prakriti? Intellect, mind, senses, body. Remaining in the midst of this becomes the Bhokta, the experiencer. Purusha becomes now the Jivatma. Notice Jivatma and Purusha are the same thing itself. At the level of experiencer and doer, it is the Jivatma. As pure consciousness, it is always Purusha. Rodrigo says, what happens when Anatma is Ishvara itself? Will you still call it Anatma? So Ishvara is Anatma or not? Anatma means not self. This is Advaita Vedanta's glory. Ishvara, God, is ultimately yourself. If you make Ishvara into Anatma, it will become an object and it will become false then. You are pure consciousness. Ishvara is pure consciousness. Now, if you think of yourself as Jiva, same pure consciousness with individual body mind is Jiva, then that pure consciousness with cosmic body mind becomes Ishvara, God of this universe. Then you can have a devotional relationship. But ultimately, it is not Anatma. Ishvara is not Anatma. Krishna clearly says this in 13th chapter, the verse, Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Know me as the indwelling consciousness in all body minds, in all chariots. Krishna says to Arjuna, I am the passenger in all the chariots. So you, and that means, but you say, I am the passenger in this chariot. But Krishna is saying, I am the passenger. Are there two passengers? No, a single ride. I and Krishna are one. That is, it's not Anatma, not self. Abhijit says, does the sevenfold ordering in the mantras 1.3, 10 to 11 correspond to Jagat, Chidvilasa, Chinmaya, Chinmatra levels, which are mentioned in your talks? Yes, certainly you can match it with that. Tima says, do I understand it right that the self is actually not self-aware, as the concept of self-awareness appears only on the level of the mind? Correct. Is it then the self is dependent on the mind for self-awareness? No, it's not dependent on the mind, because the mind is dependent on the self. See, only in Sankhya, consciousness depends on nature for everything. But in Advaita Vedanta, nature, Prakriti, Abhyakta, Maya, which we were talking about, is nothing other than the power of consciousness. So the mind is your power. Intellect is your power. The senses are your power. Physical universe is your glory. You are not depending on that. They are dependent on you. Yes, you are dependent on that for the self-awareness, like you, the original face, are dependent on a mirror for seeing your face. No doubt. Patrick says, although you can't fall again, can ignorance come back and make it appear that you have? No, it won't. Then ignorance, once dispelled by knowledge, does not arise again. Not like our ordinary knowledge here, we can forget something. Punita says, if we really truly understand today's teaching in the core of our heart, won't we be there here and now? Absolutely, absolutely. And if there is still shakiness, it will be there for most of us. The technique which he will give next, how to make it, how to become Brahmanishta, centered in Brahman, that he will show us next. Sean Lee says, how can you negate the object, body, mind, intellect? Once you understand that your consciousness, how can you put it where it belongs? You just mentioned that a pure mind can overcome the object, ignorance, fulfillment can be realized. How can you negate the body, mind, and intellect? Indeed. How can you negate? It's worth thinking about. It's very simple. It's worth thinking about. We'll just give you one example. Oh, I didn't read out one line of Shankara. Oh, he says this after giving that technique next. But he says there, all of this body, object, body, mind, intellect, they are, he says, these famous Advaitic examples, Rajju Sarpa, rope snake, Marichi Udaka, mirage water, and Akasha Mala, let's say blue sky. So these are appearances. These are not real. But one example will suffice. You say, how can I negate a body? So you're walking around talking with your friend. There's a body, there are senses, there are objects, having a cup of tea, and then suddenly you wake up. You say, oh, it was a dream. What happened to the body and the friend and the cup of tea in the dream? They're negated. You experienced it, but you realize, oh, it was nothing other than my dreaming mind. Something like that happens to the enlightened person. Not that the world will disappear, but you realize it's nothing other than I, the consciousness. If you want more detailed practice of that, you should see the non-dual meditation which I did in the Garrison retreat, which has been uploaded as non-dual meditation part 1. How do you merge one level back into a subtler level back into a even subtler level? There's more direct and simple teaching is given. Krishnamurti says, Aham Atma Gudakesha. Yes, again and again this Mahavakya is repeated. God says, I am yourself. Jayashri says, so the power of consciousness, Maya, powers the world, and the world is a reflection of Brahman. Is this correct? Yes. The world is a reflection of Brahman, no doubt. Maya contributes name, form, and function. Brahman contributes reality, awareness, and value. Sat, Chit, Ananda, Asti, Bhati, Priyam. On that very high note, let's conclude. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.